Thanks. Yes, back in Washington, overlooking the house that they're all trying to break into on Wednesday. Listen, I've got with me Gayle Trotter. She's a senior fellow from the Republican conservative-leaning Independent Women's Voice. It's a women's organization. It's Donald Trump as the Republican candidate. Let's talk about Donald Trump's women problem. It was a part of the campaign, wasn't it? It hit him hard at one point, and yet I think a lot of women are going to vote for him.
Absolutely.
Explain that to me.
Yes, well, that was Hillary Clinton's strongest strategy, to try and make the women that would normally go to Donald Trump based on his policies to question him. And she wanted to take attention away from her corruption and her policies. Women recognize that all issues are women's issues. So when you're talking about mothers who care about the safety of their communities and are concerned about terrorism, Donald Trump had an answer to that. When you're talking about jobs and the economy and tax policy to grow the economy, Donald Trump had an answer to that. When you talk about religious freedom, Donald Trump had an answer to protect religious freedom.
But he also had a lot to say about some pretty appalling behavior towards women from his own mouth. He couldn't take those words back. He said them.
Right.
And they damaged him, and they should have damaged him, right? How can he recover from that kind of thing?
Right, but I think with Hillary Clinton running against him, she was the worst positioned Democrat to challenge him on that, based on the behavior of her husband, who had to lose his law license over his behavior, who was impeached, who got off by the skin of his teeth from being removed from office because of his behavior towards women.
And that is a convincing message to a lot of the female voters following Trump today, do you think?
Yeah, I think so.
The Clintons are worse?
Yes, I think so. I think most women are voting for either of the candidates based on their policy positions, because most women are not buying Hillary Clinton's argument that Trump has been so terrible to women that they shouldn't support him. Hillary really should have focused on her policies and instead tried, especially in the last few weeks when the FBI reopened its investigation to Hillary Clinton, when it came out that the Clinton Foundation was being investigated. That's still going on.
Okay.
That has not been closed.
The other thing that he seems to have tapped into is this extraordinary disaffection with this place, Washington.
Yes, yes.
The marble-lined hallways of power, the PR companies,
Right.
the lawyers, the corporate world. Is it that bad out there in the real America? Do people feel this terrible resentment to Washington?
Well, I think Americans
bad.
have frequently felt a terrible resentment of Washington. So I think it has come to a fever pitch because of Obamacare being passed without a single Republican vote in the Congress. And we saw two midterm elections when Obama was in office that switched the leadership of the House and then switched the leadership of the Senate. And I think that American voters felt like, for example, Obamacare was going to be repealed, and it was not.
That's been good for 20 million poor Americans without health care. Obamacare, it's a great thing, right?
Well, definitely Hillary Clinton would say that, but when you talk about the fact that people are losing their plans, they're having to pay more in premiums, they're having higher deductibles, and they're being squeezed out of networks because so many insurers are having to stop offering insurance in different states.
So what does the rank outsider with no political experience whatsoever do to change this place?
Right, well, the only thing that we can do in the United States is vote. And so I think that's why anybody who supports Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump is happy today.
But are they really convinced that he's the guy to fix the political problem?
And he has made a convincing argument. He has said, I am not part of Washington, D.C. I'm going to come in. I've been successful in my business. I am an artful negotiator. I'm going to come and I'm going to drain the swamp. I'm going to clean up Washington, and I'm going to make a contract with the American voter and deliver the things that the Republicans couldn't deliver and the Democrats are opposed to.
But he hasn't filled in a lot of the policy detail, is it?
Right.
I mean, the truth is that a lot of these people, you can understand that they're angry and they feel disenfranchised and confused by the tidal wave of globalization, all that stuff.
Yes,
it's easy.
yes,
It's easy
trade,
to.
yes.
But I mean, they're voting out of desperation. Surely they don't really think he's the smart guy who's got the technical knowledge of government to change it, right?
I think they do. I think they do, and in part because he has signaled by who he's chosen as his advisors. I'm a lawyer. The Supreme Court is vitally important. We cherish our Constitution, and there's been a relentless assault on our Constitution under the Obama administration. Hillary has signaled again and again that she's going to continue that in her term, and Trump, for example, has released a list of 20 names of judges that he would put on the Supreme Court. So he's not saying, I, Donald Trump, am a constitutional lawyer and I'm going to fix it, he's going to say, I'm going to pick the right people.
Let's say he wins. You hope he does, I guess. Is he not too divisive a figure to pull the country back together again? Because it's been a very divisive campaign.
You say that, and I immediately think of Hillary Clinton calling Donald Trump supporters deplorables. So if that is true, that Donald Trump would not be able to unify the country, it's surprising
said a lot worse,
to me.
hasn't he?
No, I would think
Mexicans
that
and
people
other
are
people.
so upset that he called Americans deplorables because they don't agree with Hillary Clinton on her policies. So I don't think that anyone who supports Hillary Clinton can say with a straight face that they think she'll be able to unify the country. Maybe part of that is just because we're a divided country. We have different visions of what policies will provide more American freedom, more jobs, more opportunities. Maybe it's just that.
Here's another one for you. Today, he's been drip-feeding comments into the press about the legitimacy of the voting system. Now, let's just assume Hillary wins, but by not very much.
Right.
Do you think he's going to let that go and walk away?
No, he will not. If
Why not?
He feels like he has not been treated fairly, and in fact, on the West Coast, his campaign has filed suit because of some irregularities with the voting precincts. And if it's a close race, he has told his supporters he is not going to leave them
But there's no evidence
hanging.
of systematic rigging, is there really?
Oh, well, it depends what you're talking about. If you talk about the media, the mainstream media, and all of the emails that have been released from WikiLeaks where CNN was feeding Hillary Clinton, this was in the Democratic primary too. It's not even just the general election contest, but many of the major networks were colluding with the Clinton administration to help advance her, even over Bernie Sanders.
But today,
yes,
from all we've heard, there have been a few technical glitches, but there's no evidence today, Gayle, of any systematic plot to undermine the legitimacy of the voting.
I would
Not yet.
disagree with that because there has been a lot of research and evidence done specifically in Virginia about people who were not entitled to vote voting. And there's much documentation on that people who were registered to vote under the motor voter law were not actually entitled to vote. And when the registrations came back up to be vetted, those people were told they couldn't vote, but they had voted in many elections.
So you think there's enough evidence, if it's a close run thing, but Hillary Clinton wins, you would urge Mr. Trump to take to the legal process, to not concede, to fight the result. Is that your recommendation?
I would not tell Donald Trump what to do because he certainly wouldn't listen to me, but I think that both candidates have an obligation to their followers, their supporters, to make sure that they have been treated fairly in this election. Same with Hillary Clinton. If she and her supporters feel like they have been delegitimized in some way by the voting process, that's why we have a system of justice.
I had a person who is close to the Democratic Party on an hour ago. He showed me some numbers from their campaign headquarters. It all looks pretty good according to their assessment. And going in to voting, the polling looked pretty good, didn't it, for Hillary Clinton?
Yes.
Do you think there's any chance for Donald Trump to win?
Oh, I certainly do, because this has been neck and neck all the way. And because we've had so much outrage in the mainstream media, a lot of people were not telling pollsters honestly what they were voting because they didn't want to have the disapproval, the societal disapproval that they were supporting.
They're embarrassed to vote for Donald Trump?
Because they've been made to be embarrassed. We saw so much intimidation of voters that I think that the polls, even with that intimidation, the polls have been so close, and despite revelation after revelation of outrageous complaints on Hillary Clinton's behalf of Donald Trump, he's still neck and neck. So I think it'll go right down to the wire.
You're quietly confident.
I am agnostic on the election.
Of course.
I am agnostic, but I do think we may have a similar situation to Brexit, where Donald Trump called that the British people would do something apart from what the pollsters and the bookmakers were saying.
An American Brexit, that's what you're predicting.
Yes, an American Brexit.
All right, Gayle Trotter, thank you very much for joining me. As ever, we don't have enough time to explore this in more detail. Kamali, back to you. We're waiting to get some teeth into these results, anxiously awaiting some big states coming up in the next hour, I think. We'll be back with you to give our analysis whenever we can.
Okay, Simon, thank you very much.